Violet here, second generation homeschooling mom of 3. I have an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and an infant. Today I wanted to share with you my family's favorite board games to play together. So let's get into it. So none of these board games are overtly educational. They're all board games that we play with each other because they're fun. That being said, I do think there are a lot of skills you can learn from board games. Importantly for my kids, especially with the ages that they're at right now, taking turns and building frustration tolerance are kind of the big things that they're getting a lot out of playing games. So let's get started with Sequence. This is one that my kids have been playing for a long time. It says ages 3 through 6. I still enjoy playing this game as a grown-up. There is an adult version, but this one just has animals on the board. So essentially you're trying to get 4 in a row. So you draw cards, you place your token wherever you want. Each card, there are two of each card, and so there's 2 spots for each animal, and yeah, you're just trying to get 4 in a row. So this one's fun. It's pretty quick. It doesn't really cause meltdowns. Some games like Sorry is a big one. Anytime my kids play it, both of them, they can't handle it. There's always a lot of crying. So we do not own that one because it's kind of a nightmare. But that's a really good fun one that we all enjoy. Another one that is good for younger kids, my daughter really has kind of aged out of this, but she'll still play it if her brother wants to play it. But honestly, he's kind of starting to age out of it too, just because he's been playing it for so long. This is Outfoxed by Gamewright. This game is kind of like a cross between Guess Who and Clue. So it's a cooperative game. Everybody is trying to guess which fox is the culprit before the little fox token makes it all the way down the path. So you have dice that you can roll, and you can either look for clues or reveal suspects, and it just depends upon what you roll. So when you reveal suspects, you have these guys all around the edge of the board, and you can flip them over to see more of them. And then the clues are on the board, and you'll flip them over. And this is the really cool part of this game. You've got this secret decoder. So you have a mystery. Well, I showed you the name of this one, but you have a mystery fox inside here. And so when you put this decoder in here, it will tell you whether your mystery suspect or your culprit has this item or not. So because it's green, our mystery suspect has a briefcase. If it were just white, then they would not have whatever it is. There's a couple of different editions of this game. Some have like red if they don't have it, or I don't know. You just have to read the instructions for your specific one. But for ours, green means they have it, and white means they don't. So then we could eliminate all the suspects that don't have briefcases. And then at the end, you should be able to say, I think so-and-so did it. And then you can take the card out of here and see if the name is right. So my kids really like this game. They're both getting a little old for it, just because they've been playing it for so long. I think I got this for my daughter when she was 3 or 4. But it's still really fun. I like playing this game too. This game is a good one if your kids have aged out of Outfoxed and they are not particularly sensitive. The Animals of Baker Street, and it has 10 cases to solve. And so you read the different clues in the case book and you play through the game, and there are cards and characters, and there's actually kind of a lot of pieces. This game is really, really well designed. I feel like here's the cute little characters, and you move them around and you read different situations on the cards. You have to decide what to do. But I will say that this one, the cases that they describe are a little bit more. It's not who stole the pie. It's more like who murdered the rat. So my daughter was totally fine with that, but it kind of freaked my son out. He was, or it didn't freak him out, but he just decided he wasn't interested. He's a lot more sensitive. So he did not play this. My daughter really enjoyed reading all of the cases. So she actually played through this one. She played through all 10 cases by herself, and then she played through them all again with my husband. So you don't have to be able to read to play this game, but I do think it's a lot more fun. And I think most kids who can't read are probably going to be a little bit too young for the premise anyway. Definitely read the reviews on this one before you get it for your kids. But it's a good, like, whodunit kind of game. This next one is kind of one of those fun for all ages games. It's called Suspend, and essentially I don't know that I'm going to be able to fit it in my camera, but you have this main stick that comes up, and you roll a die that tells you what color, and then you're trying to balance whatever color you roll. So whoever makes it fall down loses. And that's it. My kids have a lot of fun with this one. They don't like losing, so they don't use the dice at all. They just take turns choosing a color and then seeing if they can work together to get all the sticks to balance, which is totally fine. I am always happy to let my kids change a competitive game to a cooperative one, but this one's really fun. Suspend. Good little basic engineering stuff. This This next game I actually have not played with my kids, but they play it with each other all the time. It's called Not So Fast, and it's essentially a learning to tie knots game. So it has all of these cards, which my kids have all mixed up, but it teaches you to tie the different knots. And so you're supposed to be racing against each other. My kids don't do well with anything where you're like having to be fast or racing with each other, especially my son. He doesn't like that. He doesn't handle it well. So my kids usually just help each other tie the knots, and that's kind of how they play this game. But it's fun. They've actually learned how to tie several of the knots in here, and they can tie them without looking at the pictures, which is really cool. So yeah, Not So Fast. That one's fun. Blockus, this is a classic game. A lot of you probably have already heard of this and played it, but you essentially are a color and you're trying to, let's just pretend that these are the same color. You're trying to get all the way from one side of the board to the other, but your pieces can only touch on the corner. And so someone could, if they put their piece here, they could block you. And so you'd have to go around them. And all of my kids like this, or both of my kids, older kids like this, but my son especially loves this game. He really likes these kind of like visual puzzle type things. This next one is one of my son's favorites as well, Labyrinth. This game is actually one of the few games my husband had to play growing up. The local library near him had only this board game for some reason. So he played this game all the time when he was a kid, but he couldn't remember what it was called. So I brought it home from the thrift store and he recognized it and was like, oh, I've played that game a ton. So this is a path laying game, sort of. The way you set it up is you put all these pieces out. And there's one more piece than there are spaces on the board. So every turn, you take your piece and you decide where you want to put it in and you change all the paths. And you have 3 things that you're trying to get your character to, but you can mess other people up when you move the paths in a way that helps you and hurts them. And this is a fun one just to play together. The kind of changing maze board. Here's the cards of the different items that you get on the board. So yeah, that one's a big hit as well. My son loves this game. He would play it over and over and over again if we would let him. This next one, there are several games out there that teach your kids to play chess. This one is my favorite because it's just very straightforward. Each card tells you, there's several different levels in here, but the easiest beginner level, the board tells you where to put all the pieces, and then the cards tell you what to do, and you just draw a card and do what it says. And then the next level up is you have several, I think it's 3, you have 3 cards in your hand, you can choose which one, and then from there you can kind of move on to just making the decisions on your own. My kids haven't gotten there yet. They're still kind of at the have a few cards in their hand and choose what to do next stage, but this greatly reduces the number of tiers they have playing. I can't remember who was trying to teach them chess. It wasn't my husband or I, but they were having a hard time with it. But this really is no stress because they just choose one of the cards and do what it says, and they don't have to worry about the kind of broader strategy of playing chess that they're not really ready for yet. This next game is called Quiddler, and my son is almost ready to play this game. He really likes spelling, but he just is not quite, he doesn't quite have a big enough spelling vocabulary, so to speak. So we actually have not played this game at all. You can see it's still completely in the plastic. But essentially you have a handful of cards and you're trying to spell a word using all the letters in your hand, and each turn or each round you get more and more cards until I think there's 10 rounds. At the end of 10 rounds you have a bunch of cards and you're trying to spell either a long word or several short words, and you get points deducted if you don't use all your cards. So it's kind of like a quicker, faster, less complicated version of Scrabble. So I really like this game. We haven't played it with my kids yet. This next game is actually one of my husband's favorite games, Hues and Cues. And essentially you are using descriptive words to try to get people to guess what color you have on your card. So let me see if I can show you this whole board because it's really pretty. So you have all these colors on here, and then when you draw a card, it has 4 colors and you choose one, and you have to, there's words that are banned, and then you have to come up with other descriptor words, and then based on how close people get, you get points. So my husband has been doing what he calls color school with the kids, where they learn about different shades of colors. And so he actually bought this Ibu deck of cards. I don't actually know if they still make this deck. There we go. So he actually found and bought this deck of cards that has all these very specific color words, and then there's information about them on the back. And so he'll go through a few of them, like 2 or 3, each time before they play this game, so that the kids can use these more specific words, because basic color words are banned in this game, but you could say, oh, that color, my color, I think you're limited to just 1 or 2 words, but you could say more ochre-like, or more olive, and get closer to the color without breaking the rules of the game. So these cards are really cool. And I like that they have a little hole so you can try to color match stuff. But yes, my husband really likes this game and does color school with the kids, with the cards and then the board game. Every time they ask to play the board game, they have to do color school first. This next game is actually one that we did not like, Castle Panic. I have heard so many people say that this game is amazing and they love it so much. I've heard people compare it to a video game, and I feel like it's a video game, but all the boring parts of video games I don't like, essentially. We, as a family, have played this game 3 times now. We had to force everyone to play it the second 2 times, and we just did not enjoy this game. So essentially, you have a castle in the center that you're defending from monsters, which sounds like it should be fun, but it was kind of just the same mechanic over and over and over again, and it was a little bit too stressful while not being enough fun for my family. We played it those 3 times just to make sure we were giving it a fair chance, and then no one has asked to play it again. So we haven't gotten rid of it yet, but we probably will if by the end of the year no one's wanted to play it again. So that was a fail for us, unfortunately. I know a lot of people really like this game. I thought it was going to be really good for us because it's a cooperative game, but unfortunately, we just thought it was kind of boring. These are both dice games from Gamewright. Quicks is sort of like a twist on Yahtzee, where you're trying to fill up your... you're not rolling combinations the way you're rolling in Yahtzee, but you're trying to fill up all these dice. You're trying to fill up your board. Whoever gets the fills in the most essentially gets the most points and wins. But the nice thing about this game is that everybody plays on every turn. So somebody will roll however many dice you're supposed to roll, and then everyone can fill out on their boards based on these dice. And there's a few more rules than that, but essentially that's it. So it's pretty fast paced, and there's not really waiting around for other people to do their turn, which is really good if your kids are not in a waiting around mood. This next one is similar, where Roll America, in that everybody scores on their board for every roll. It's just that instead of having numbers, you have states, and they're sort of states, they're blocks. Based on what dice you roll, you can put numbers in the different color blocks, and then there's rules about which numbers can be next to each other and all of that, and whoever fills in the most of their board wins, essentially. So I've seen some people say that their kids learn geography from this. Mine don't. These states are way too blocky. They're not like, oh, I'm writing in Texas when they're down here. They're like, no, I'm writing in this green state. So, but it's a fun game. But yeah, I would not say that my kids learn any geography from it. It's just a fun dice game. So these next 3 games that I'm going to show you are probably our top 3 games right now. Pandemic is, if my son had to pick his favorite game, it would be Pandemic. He loves games that have like visual spatial puzzle elements, and he loves games with a lot of rules for some reason. So Pandemic is a cooperative game where you're trying to save the world, essentially. This one does have a little bit of geography that you learn from it, although the cities are not 100% in the right spot. But yeah, my son just loves this game, so he always is asking to play this one. The playtime for this one is probably about 45 minutes, I would say. So if your kid is interested in this kind of game, but they don't have that attention span, they make a shorter version. So this is still geared towards like older kids and grown-ups. So it doesn't dumb down the gameplay, it just simplifies it. So this one is like a 10 to 15 minute game that still has all of the main elements from the main Pandemic game. So we actually played this one with our kids first. And then when they were comfortable playing this, then we moved on to the main Pandemic. So these Pandemic hot zones, they have Hot Zone Europe, Hot Zone North America. This one was on clearance, so this is the one that I have, but they're all, the gameplay is very similar, the board is just different. So yeah, my son loves Pandemic for some reason. It just is so funny to me. I thought after COVID it was a game that I would never want to play again, but we play it all the time. All right, and then my kids also really like Ticket to Ride, and similar to Pandemic, there's also a shorter version of Ticket to Ride. There's also a little kid version of Ticket to Ride, but I try to, when I'm buying games, even though I buy most of them from the thrift store, I did find this at the thrift store, this one I got on clearance. I try to buy games that are going to fill a niche in our game shelf that isn't already filled. So I don't buy games that are try not to buy games that are similar to each other unless they're filling a specific purpose. So like these two games have very different time requirements. This one takes 45 minutes to an hour. This one takes 10 to 15 minutes. So the kid version is also shorter, but I felt like my kids, especially my oldest, was possibly already too old for it at the time that I was shopping for these. So I opted to get Ticket to Ride New York, and we just modified the rules the first few times we played it. So this, like Pandemic, the shorter version just has a smaller board. So this one's New York City, and then there's little taxi cabs that you place on it. So this is a route building game. You're trying to get from, the cards will tell you where you're going. Let's see. So you're trying to build these, and you get points for completing the routes, and then you need these train cars in order to build each one. So that one's fun. The theming on this is really cool too, because the instructions look like a little travel pamphlet, and these are just really cute games. I really wanted to get the Ticket to Ride London because the pieces are double-decker buses, and my husband is obsessed with double-decker buses, but this is the one that was on clearance, so it's the one that we ended up with. They have a bunch of cities now. I think they have Amsterdam, San Francisco, New York, London. And then this is the main Ticket to Ride. This was the first one. And then there's a lot more boards and expansions and stuff that you can get for it now. But this is, let me see if I can fit the whole board in here. This original one is just going across the US, and you're trying to build train routes and gain points, and whoever has the most points at the end wins. So this one's fun too. Again, I wouldn't necessarily use this board to learn geography. The cities are placed in a way that makes it easy to place train cars, so not all of them are in the right spot. But that could be a fun exercise for your kids. Which cities are in the wrong state? And then the last game that we have been playing a ton of recently is Splendor. I wasn't sure how my kids were going to do with this one, but they also love this one, and this is one of my favorite games right now too. So this one is a gem collecting game. You're trying to get points basically, but you have to have these gem tokens in order to buy cards, and then the cards help you buy more cards, and you're trying to be the first one to 15 points. So, and there's a whole way you set them up and scoring and everything, but this one's really, really fun. I really like this game. I was really happy when I found it at the thrift store. If you are trying to thrift games, what I've noticed is that the best times to do it are around holidays. And at least where we are, I noticed that before Christmas, a lot of younger kid games were getting donated. And then after Christmas, it was more of the older kid and adult games. So I don't know if that's true everywhere, but that's the thrift stores near me. That's kind of the pattern that I noticed. That was my best thrifting time was around the holidays. All right, and then I have 3 games to show you that are the games that my husband and I like to play when it's just the two of us. The first one, and this one's my current favorite, is Wingspan. I love birds, and I really like the gameplay with this. It's the right level of complicated for me. I don't like games that have 1,000 rules. I don't really like worker placement games. They're just too complicated. But this one's really beautiful. And essentially, you have these boards, and you're trying to build different birds to get the most points. But it has all these cute little pieces, a little dice tower that's shaped like a birdhouse, all these really beautiful, I don't know if I can get this open right now, all these beautiful cards that have birds and bird facts on them, and some of the birds have different powers, and yeah, this game is really well put together, and I really enjoy playing it. So we play this one a lot when it's just the two of us, or we brought it to my family's house for Thanksgiving and played it with all my family members, so that was really fun too. And then this is one of my husband's favorite games, Kill Dr. Lucky. If you haven't heard of this game, it's a prequel to Clue. So in this one, there's a variety of kind of wacky characters. So you're a character, and you're trying to kill Dr. Lucky with one of the Clue weapons. So you have to have a weapon, and you have to be in a room on the board that no one else can see you in, because you can only kill Dr. Lucky if you're the only person with him and no one else can see you. The family board game of cold-blooded murder. This one's just kind of fun. If you like Clue, but you've played it so much that you're bored of it, check out Kill Dr. Lucky. And then the last game that my husband and I love, we've loved this game for years, is Dominion. This is a deck building game. And so this is the base game, Dominion, just the original one. And so you have all these cards that do things, and you lay out a certain number, and then there's money that helps you buy things. And so you're building your own deck. You're putting things into your own deck, and then what you draw each turn is what you can play with. And then whoever has the most points, whoever reaches, I forget how many points it is, but when things run out, then whoever has the most points win, essentially. So you need this, there's tons of expansions for this game, but you need this base game, or we have both. This is also a base game. It has Dominion Intrigue. It has the, this is what it looks like after you move, or your kids shake it. This has the money and like other cards you need in order to play a full game. The rest of the expansions just have the expansion cards. And then our very favorite expansion for Dominion, because I feel like it changes the gameplay the most in a way that's fun, because sometimes the expansions will change gameplay in a way that I am just not a fan of, is Dominion Prosperity. And it even says here this is not a complete game. So you need either Intrigue or the original Dominion in order to play this one. But it comes with some fun pieces and adds some fun new ways to gain victory points that change the gameplay a lot. My husband really likes this expansion because this is the only way. Playing with the Prosperity expansion is the only time he occasionally wins. He loves Dominion, but the way that he plays it, he gets all of these action cards and he chains them all together and he does a whole long thing for his turn and he narrates the whole thing beautifully. And then at the end, he doesn't have enough turns or money or anything to like really do anything. But Prosperity, the gameplay is different enough that he was able to get a lot of victory points. So this one's a really good one for us, just with our dynamic of playing. So yeah, those are all of the board games that my family likes to play. I hope you found this helpful. I will link everything in the description box below. I am an Amazon affiliate, so if you click on a link and make a purchase, I do receive a small commission. Thank you for watching.